Every day, we make countless decisions. From the moment we wake up to the moment our head hits the pillow, we are bombarded with choices. What will we eat for breakfast? What will we wear to work? Who will we spend our time with? The list goes on. We like to think we are in control. We believe we are the masters of our destiny. But what if free will is an illusion? Imagine a universe where every event is predetermined. This is determinism. Our choices, like a ball set in motion, are predetermined. If true, free will becomes questionable. Are we actors reciting lines written long ago, or can we carve our own paths through reality? The debate on free will has raged for centuries. Join us as we explore this intellectual labyrinth. At the heart of the debate about free will lies a fundamental question about the nature of the universe. Is the universe deterministic, meaning that every event is predetermined by the laws of physics, or is there an element of randomness or chance that allows for genuine freedom of choice? Classical physics painted a picture of a clockwork universe. If we knew the initial conditions, we could predict the future with perfect accuracy. However, quantum mechanics introduced randomness and uncertainty. At the subatomic level, events occur with a certain probability. Does this randomness account for free will? Determinism, in its purest form, is a rather bleak perspective. If every choice we make, every action we take is predetermined, then what is the point of anything? Why strive for a better future if our path is already set in stone? Why bother with morality or justice if we are not truly responsible for our actions? Hard determinists argue that free will is an illusion. Our actions are the inevitable consequence of a long chain of cause and effect stretching back to the beginning of the universe. We are like billiard balls on a cosmic pool table, our paths predetermined by the initial conditions of the universe and the laws of physics. This view can be deeply unsettling. It challenges our fundamental understanding of ourselves as autonomous agents. It calls into question the very foundations of our legal and moral systems, which are predicated on the assumption that we are responsible for our choices. However, some determinists argue that this perspective is not as bleak as it initially seems. On the other side of the spectrum, we have libertarianism. This philosophical perspective stands as a staunch defender of free will. Libertarians argue that determinism is fundamentally incompatible with our lived experience. We feel as though we make choices freely. We experience the weight of our decisions, the burden of responsibility. To deny this fundamental aspect of human experience, they argue, is to deny what it means to be human. Libertarianism proposes that we are not merely cogs in a deterministic machine. We are agents with genuine causal power. Our choices are not merely the result of external forces, but rather the product of our own internal deliberations and volitions. But how can this be reconciled with the laws of physics? Libertarianism has its own challenges. One of the most significant is the question of how our minds, if they are not subject to the deterministic laws of physics, can interact with our brains, which are undeniably physical entities. This mind-body problem has plagued philosophers for centuries and remains a point of contention even today. Section 5. Compatibilism, finding middle ground. Is there a middle ground between the seemingly irreconcilable positions of determinism and libertarianism? Compatibilism attempts to bridge this divide, suggesting that free will and determinism are not mutually exclusive. Compatibilists argue that the traditional definition of free will is too narrow. They argue that true freedom does not require that our actions be uncaused. Instead, they define free will in terms of our ability to act according to our desires and intentions, even if those desires and intentions themselves are determined by prior causes. In other words, as long as our actions are the result of our own internal mental states, rather than being coerced by external forces, we can be said to be acting freely. Imagine a person who has a deep love of music. They spend their free time listening to music, attending concerts, and playing instruments. A compatibilist would argue that this person is acting freely, even if their love of music is the result of their genes, their upbringing, or some other factor outside of their control. Section 6. The neuroscience of decision-making. Can brain scans predict our choices? Advances in neuroscience have given us unprecedented insights into the inner workings of the brain. By monitoring brain activity, scientists can now predict, with a surprising degree of accuracy, decisions that people will make before they are even consciously aware of making them. These findings have led some to question whether our conscious experience of decision-making is merely an after-the-fact rationalization of decisions that have already been made by our brains at a subconscious level. Experiments have shown that specific brain regions, such as the prefrontal cortex, are heavily involved in decision-making. By monitoring activity in these regions, researchers have been able to predict, for example, whether a person will choose to move their left or right hand seconds before the person is consciously aware of making the decision. Section 7. The implications for morality and justice. The debate about free will has profound implications for our understanding of morality and justice. If we truly do not have free will, can we be held morally responsible for our actions? Can we justify punishing criminals if their crimes are the inevitable consequence of their genes and environment? If our actions are predetermined, then the traditional notions of blame, punishment, and reward lose some of their meaning. After all, how can we punish someone for an action they were predetermined to take? This raises challenging questions about the foundations of our legal and moral systems. Some argue that even if determinism is true, we still need to hold people accountable for their actions in order to maintain a functioning society. Others believe that a deterministic view of human behavior should lead to a more compassionate and rehabilitative approach to criminal justice. Section 8. Free will and artificial intelligence. As we develop increasingly sophisticated artificial intelligence, the question of free will takes on a new urgency. If we create machines that can think and learn like humans, will they also possess free will? Or will they be nothing more than sophisticated automatons, carrying out the instructions programmed into them? If we define free will as the ability to make choices that are not predetermined by prior causes, then it seems unlikely that current AI systems possess free will. However, as AI continues to evolve, we may need to revisit our definition of free will and grapple with the ethical implications of creating machines that can make their own choices. The question of AI and free will also forces us to confront our own biases and assumptions about consciousness and intelligence. What does it truly mean to be sentient? And what are the essential ingredients for free will? Section 9. The role of consciousness in free will. The relationship between consciousness and free will is complex and not fully understood. Some argue that consciousness is a prerequisite for free will. They believe that without subjective experience, without the ability to feel our emotions and desires, we cannot be said to be truly free. Others argue that consciousness may be more of an observer in the decision-making process. They suggest that our conscious minds may not have direct control over our actions, but rather provide a running commentary on the decisions that our brains have already made. The nature of consciousness remains one of the greatest mysteries in science. Until we have a better understanding of how consciousness arises from the physical matter of the brain, the role it plays in free will likely remain a subject of debate. Section 10. Living with the paradox. The debate about free will is likely to continue for centuries to come. It is a question that has no easy answers, a paradox that we may never fully unravel. But even if we can never definitively prove or disprove the existence of free will, grappling with this question can still be a valuable exercise. It can help us to better understand ourselves, our place in the universe, and the nature of reality itself. It can also lead us to ask deeper questions about the meaning of life, the nature of morality, and the future of humanity. Perhaps in the end, the most important thing is not whether or not we have free will, but how we choose to live our lives in light of this enduring mystery. Section 11. Conclusion: the enduring mystery of free will. The question of whether or not we truly have free will is a deep and perplexing one. It is a question that has challenged philosophers and scientists for centuries, and it is a question that continues to fascinate and perplex us today. We have explored the arguments for and against free will, from the deterministic laws of physics to the subjective experience of choice. We have delved into the neuroscience of decision-making and the implications for morality and justice, and we have considered the role of consciousness and the challenges posed by artificial intelligence. Yet, despite our best efforts, the mystery of free will endures. Perhaps the answer lies beyond the reach of reason, hidden within the depths of our own consciousness. Or perhaps as we continue to explore the universe and unravel the mysteries of the human mind, we will one day find the answer to this age-old question. But for now, the question remains, do you really have free will?